All right, we are live here on Soulfire. Hello, star people. My name is Christopher, the AstroMedium, and your host, intuitive astrologer for tonight's weekly cosmic forecast and energy update. We're going to take a look at the astrological energies for the week of March 28th through April 3rd. We're going to look at these energies day by day, especially going into some more of these moon transits so we can get a feel of the mood of each day. And then later in the video, I will dissect some of these larger energy signatures at play more in detail for you so you can navigate your week and the month ahead with ease. So, we are sitting in a lot of new energy right now. The Sun and Venus are now in Aries, and they are about to form their conjunction known as Venus star point. That happens tomorrow in the sign of Aries. So there's a lot of fresh energy. There's more energy. There's more physical vitality. There is more passion and more drive toward our goals and our ambitions. So what we come face to face with at the beginning of this week is right out the gate. There is so much energy packed in to one day. So Sunday, March 28th is going to feel a little bit like a circus. And this is exciting, but this can also be bewildering, overstimulating, and just exhausting. So the moon will enter Libra at 1:22 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and that is going to activate this full moon into full motion. So the sun, of course, will be at 8 degrees of Aries, forming a conjunction with Venus, who is also at 8 degrees of Aries. And these two are going to oppose and, or you could say, have a standoff with the moon in Libra when she reaches 8 degrees of Libra at 2:49 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. This is going to be just one part of a very large picture here, a very large energy signature known as a kite. And I'm going to go into more detail about that later. But this full moon experience, I want to call it, this full moon party, because there's so much happening at once on that day, is intensified and is also supported. So not only is Venus and the sun here in Aries at 8 degrees, but Chiron is also at 8 degrees of Aries. So there's a healing factor to this moon. Now the moon will also make a 120-degree angle to Saturn, which is going to give us some structural support. Also, Mars, the god of war, is going to make a conjunction and join forces with the North Node, or Rahu, as they call it in Vedic astrology, the dragon's head. And we're going to talk more about that larger energy signature later in the video. But we start off the day and the week with a bang. So much energy. So there's a lot that will be presented to you that day, and it will probably leave you feeling very anxious, restless, lots of insomnia, lots of things coming to the surface, triggers. Be mindful of that, but know that this is bringing this up to move you into a deeper state of appreciation of self, a deeper state of appreciation of others, but really this is a focus on the self and healing the self and healing yourself. Now, when we move to Monday, we're going to move this energy a little bit further. So as Mars makes this conjunction to the North Node, the moon is going to follow suit, and the moon is going to make a 120-degree angle trine. This is a beautiful, powerful energy trines. And this trine between the moon and Mars is going to stimulate a lot of passion and excitement. But the moon is also going to trine the North Node. So it's going to activate that conjunction between Mars and Rahu. And then Jupiter also receives a trine from the moon. So that is going to be a day full of optimism, passion, motion forward, alignment. But the moon is also going to make a square, a tense 90-degree angle to Pluto. This is going to intensify things. Reactions may be strong. Things may get deeper than the surface. And this is not something that we're really wanting to get deep down into in Aries and Libra. They're not very deep signs. And Mercury is a key player this week. Mercury, as well as the North Node and Venus and the Sun, are very active this week. So we have these key players all starting to have these different conversations with each other, stimulating, supporting, and challenging each other in different ways. Now, conjunctions are an infusion of energy. And on the day On Monday, the moon will make a quincunx, which is 150-degree angle to Mercury and Neptune. Now, the moon is activating a larger energy signature that day when Mercury in Pisces moves into an exact conjunction with Neptune in Pisces. And I'm going to explain more of that in detail, but that's going to stimulate more ungroundedness, spaciness. You're going to feel like you're in a daze. So the moon is going to activate that on the same day, and quincunxes are confusing in and of itself. So Monday's going to feel confusing. It may feel like you're floating, but you're having a good experience, or that a part of you is having a good experience, even though you're somewhere else a lot. So there's a little bit being disjointed. Again, we're being pulled in a lot of different directions this week. Now, as we move forward through the week and we get to Tuesday, the moon is going to enter Scorpio at 1:33 a.m. And you'll notice that the moon entered Libra at 1:22 a.m. and it enters Scorpio at 1:33 a.m. Interesting. I want to draw some conclusions here and want to know what's really happening here. There's an intensity to the synchronicities even around this full moon. Now, Tuesday is going to be a tense day, but it's going to offer a lot of support to you. This is also the day when Venus and the Sun begin having their conversations with Saturn and Rahu. Now, the moon is going to form an opposition to Uranus. You're going to want more excitement. You're going to need more stimulation, but you're not getting it. There's restlessness. You feel trapped by something. Moon square Saturn's going to come in there as well. The moon is going to have this tense conversation with Saturn, bringing loneliness, isolation to the picture, you being harder on yourself, like being such a asshole disciplinarian to yourself that you feel lonely and isolated, and that you've got way too much on your plate to enjoy anything. And this is going to be intensified by moon's quincunx to Venus. So this conversation between the moon and Venus is not going to be so pleasant either. Now, remember, the moon is an activator. So the moon's having this tense conversation and a confusing conversation with Saturn and Venus. And Venus is going to move into an exact sextile with Saturn the same day. This is a larger energy signature. And excuse me, this frequency is bold, and it's, I don't want to say stern, it's solid, it's steady, it's sturdy. So Venus is conjunct the sun, and she and the sun are going to go back and forth with these different planets and placements. Now, Venus opens the doorway with this conversation. I'm going to go into more detail about that later. But as we move into the next day, the sun is also going to form a sextile to Saturn. This is going to bring responsibilities to the forefront. You feeling like you have something to prove, but also that you have accomplished something, feeling much better about yourself and rewarding yourself for the hard work that you've done. Now, on the same day, the moon is going to make a quincunx to Mars. That's a little tricky to wake up in the morning with, but fortunately for us, moon trine Mercury is going to stimulate a lot of positive communications and conversations that day, especially because Neptune is also receiving a supportive trine from the moon, and this is going to increase psychic abilities. Psychic abilities are already increased as Mercury is in Pisces, Neptune is in Pisces, and Mercury and Neptune are still forming that conjunction at this time. So the moon's going to activate that in a very positive way, bringing you higher insights, higher knowledge into your consciousness, maybe from your higher self, from guides, from higher dimensional places, and getting you connected to that higher self as well on a subconscious level. Now, the moon is going to make a square to Jupiter and a sextile to Pluto. So again, things can get intense and things can get a little bold that day. There can be a tendency to get in your God complex when the moon squares Jupiter. You think you have it all figured out. Be mindful of this, especially because when the sun receives a supportive sextile from Saturn, it definitely grounds that ego energy. It definitely makes it get real, but it supports it as well. You may feel overly confident that day, or you may overstep your boundaries. Now let's move to Thursday, April 1st. The moon will enter Sagittarius at 1:59 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and the moon is going to have some mostly positive conversations that day. This is when the clouds part. Thursday is when the sun comes out, the birds start chirping. It's like the calm after the storm, but it's also the calm before the storm. So Venus is going to start a new conversation this day, and it's a supportive conversation with Rahu. So yes, Mars is over here in a conjunction with the North Node, but now Venus is going to call upon that. She's still in a conversation with Saturn. Now she's going to move into a conversation with the North Node, and she's going to take her focus away from her responsibilities and her duties, and she's going to pay more attention to her purpose and her mission at a soul level, which is going to get you thinking about that. And this is going to show up in your relationships. Now, the moon is going to make a quincunx to Uranus, confusing, agitating, but the moon makes a beautiful trine to Chiron and sextiles Saturn. So we still have some of this support from Saturn. Moon has now moved into a sextile with Saturn, giving you a little bit more emotional resilience. And there's something you're coming to the conclusion of, and there are things that have been surfacing for you that need to be healed and want to resolve. And Thursday may be a day where there's enough calmness and enough tranquility to allow that to process and leave your system as the moon makes that trine to Chiron. Now, when we get to Friday, this is when some of the clouds start rolling back in again. And there's nothing wrong with that. We need a little bit of rain to help nourish us, especially as we have come out of the clouds with all that Pisces energy. We've been dropped back down into the third dimension, and we need some help acclimating at this time. Now on Friday, the moon is going to make a trine to Venus. That's going to get us in our heart. It's going to make us feel very intimate, makes us want to connect with other people, makes us want to enjoy things. But the moon is going to oppose Mars and the North Node. So that's going to stimulate some confusion, some feeling lost, like we're not where we're supposed to be, we're agitated, we're quicker to anger, we're reacting from a place of frustration. And the moon is also going to trine Uranus, sextile Jupiter. And this is positivity, optimism, bringing you opportunities that day. Be mindful as the moon makes a square to Neptune that you may feel hypersensitive at some point. You may be taking in a little bit too much information and stimuli. You also may be pulling in some more psychic information, but you're not sure how to make of it or what to do with that information. And it can cause confusion as you don't feel as connected as you normally do. Now, what's important about Friday is that Mercury is also very active this week. So Mercury is going to move into a supportive sextile. There's a lot of conjunctions and sextiles this week. So that means there's a lot of infusing of energy. There's a lot of agreement or getting on the same page. There's a lot of blending is really what that is. Trying to meet somewhere and have a common goal. But there's a lot of sextiles as well, which are opportunities and potentials to grow, expand, and receive something positive. Now, Mercury's sextile to Pluto is going to make things get a little bit deeper. We're going to be looking deeper into things and covering topics within our communications and conversations that may be a little bit heavier and harder to deal with, but create some type of transformation within us and get us to see something differently and in a deeper way. Now, this is very much needed at this time, and because Mercury is about to leave Pisces and go into Aries. And on Saturday, April 3rd, as Mercury has this conversation with Pluto, then takes a total nosedive from the ethereal realms right back into its body, into Aries. It's like a young child again. It's reborn. And so we are going to feel a lot more of that Aries energy come in. We're going to feel a little bit less like there's a tug of war happening. And the moon enters Capricorn at 4:13 a.m. on Eastern Standard Time on Saturday. And this is going to make things get a little bit more realistic. Okay. And the moon is going to make a square to Mercury. That's going to cause some confusion. There may be some conversations that we're having that challenge us in some way, or we're misunderstanding not just people, but misunderstanding body language, misunderstanding subconscious cues, and just not being on the same page. Now, this is the day that moon makes a trine to Uranus. And oh, I love when the moon makes a trine to Uranus. There's something new that's going to happen. There's something you want to do. You're excited. You're anticipating this something new happen. And this is also the day that the sun follows suit and makes a sextile to the North Node. So we've got Venus and the sun agreeing and having these supportive conversations both with Saturn and the North Node. So there's a spotlight. There's opening of the heart. There's upgrades to the heart chakra. And there is more of a spotlight on how are you going to get where you want to go next, and Are you going to do that from a place of alignment, or are you going to do that from a place of blunt force? Now, speaking of blunt force, as we move through this week, we've got Mars in the conversation, and Mars is very much a forceful energy. It's masculine. It's very sitting very much in the ego, and Mars is very active around this full moon in Libra. So as we pass this Venus star point, and this brings a lot of illumination to the heart area and to relational things, your value systems are coming to the surface. There are things that you're wanting to evaluate. And so we're going to put them on the scales, those Libran scales, and we're going to try to find some balance. There are things that may need to be taken away, and there may be things that need to be added in other areas. And this is in relationship to you. So let's talk about Aries and Libra. Aries is the first sign of the zodiac. It rules the first house. And the first house is the house of the self, the body, the perception of self, the ego, the I am presence. The first house is where you move through stages of greater understanding of self and embodying that and owning that and becoming something fresh and new. It's also the sign and house of beginnings. So something is beginning again. Something is new, like spring. Now, Libra, on the other hand, is the seventh sign of the zodiac and rules the seventh house. Libra is all about them, the partnership. It's both of us. How do we harmonize these two separate entities? How do we bring something that is separate into not necessarily a unification, because that would be Pisces energy, into a balanced, harmonious relationship? And Libra is very much about pleasing and making sure that everything is okay because we don't want to disrupt anything. Its opposite sign, Aries, doesn't give a shit and wants to disrupt something and wants to come in like a spark. Aries is the spark of the zodiac. It's the spark that ignites the slow burning flames, which is Leo. And that slow burning flame may catch fire and lead to a wildfire, which is like a traveling wildfire. That's how I like to describe Sagittarius. So it's these different stages of how these different elements progress and in what function or quality they're in. And Aries is a cardinal sign, and Libra is also a cardinal sign, but one leads through partnership and relationships, and one also leads through kindness and harmony. The other one leads through self, me, I'm leading the way, I am the boss, I have passion for this. So when the sun is in Aries and the moon is in Libra, we've got this conversation happening here, which is rather tense, which is all full moons, is moon opposite the sun. So this is going to split us between focusing on ourselves and focusing on others, and how much energy we're giving to ourselves and how much of your vital energy you are giving to others, because this is an important conversation that needs to be had. Now, what's interesting about this full moon in Libra is that the sun is also joined, like I said, by Venus, creating this Venus star point at 8 degrees of Aries. And Chiron is also at 8 degrees of Aries and has been at this point of in Aries for quite a bit. And because Chiron takes a long time to get through Aries. So you've got a multi-planet opposition happening here between the moon in Libra and all of these planets exactly at 8 degrees. It's perfect. So you've got 3 oppositions happening here. This is going to pull you in a lot of different directions and create a lot of choices. What are you healing for yourself right now? Are there things about you that need to be healed? Yes, but are a lot of things about you that need to be healed in relationship to other people? Are there things that you feel about yourself that are showing up in your relationships, like your body weight issues showing up in your partner being critical of you gaining weight or losing weight, and realizing that a lot of your trauma, a lot of your insecurities are showing up in other people, because that's how it works. That's what in astrology, when you cross the threshold of the descendant, opposite of the ascendant, out of the 6th house and into the 7th house, you are now discovering yourself through other people. It's not just about other people, it's about discovering yourself through them. We are all reflections of each other. And this is about, well, what do you want reflecting back to you? But with the sun being in Aries, it's saying you have to start with the self. Now, the gift in all of this is Chiron is there. He always presents a gift. And this is that triggers may come to the surface, insecurities that come up, a lot of things may come up that make you feel raw, vulnerable, weakened by that energy. And that is giving you an opportunity to address it, as Saturn is also a part of this conversation that's happening as well. So you have this multi-planet opposition, and Saturn is over here in Aquarius around 11 degrees. So you have this sextile happening between Saturn and all of these planets in Aries. Now, all of these planets in Aries, these three planets, Sun, Venus, and Chiron, are also forming a sextile to Mars and Rahu, who are now on this exact day and time conjunct and joining forces in the sign of Gemini. So with Mars forming a conjunction to Rahu, this is going to stimulate a lot of impatience, restlessness. Mars has already entered Gemini and has now made it halfway through his entire stay in Gemini, and now joins forces with Rahu. And when Mars is in Gemini, our energy is scattered. Now, this affects everyone differently, but generally speaking, Mars in Gemini is exciting energy. It moves quick, but it's scattered. There's too many things happening at once. There's a lot of multitasking happening, and there's projects not being completed. And this is going to be intensified as this North Node energy is soul energy. This is higher vibrational. It's a lot more abstract. It's not as literal. It doesn't translate as well down here. And Mars is very much down here on the ground. He is all about getting your blood pumping, getting you to move in your physical body and get you to take action. So what is going to happen here is around this moon, you're going to feel kind of a pull to get stuff done. You may have a lot of emotional resilience to get it done. You may feel like I can do this. I have what it takes. There's a lot of things I need to do. There's a lot of things I need to accomplish. And then over here, there's something calling you. There is a higher calling you have. And that higher calling may not be to be a celebrity and for millions of people to know your name. It might be simpler from our perspective, simpler than that. But you are being called to something. Your soul came here with an intention, and you're constantly being called to it in different ways. And the conversation that's having right now is it's calling for more of your energy. You do have a purpose, and there is a mission here that you came here to do. Sometimes it's to help others. Sometimes it's to understand the self. And that's where this moon is giving you an opportunity to focus on the self. When you realize I have nourished myself and given to myself, recharged myself, and I also am confident in my own skin and am passionate about who I am. That's all those things that Sun in Aries wants to embody. I can then give to others no problem. And I want to, but I come first, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's a lot of shame wrapped around being selfish, and Aries is the most selfish sign as it rules the house of the self, and there's nothing wrong with the self. That's the thing. We attach a negative connotation to the word selfish, which automatically means that something pointing the attention to the self is arrogant or wrong in some way. And this is all energies that are trying to dissolve. Now you have these two sextiles, okay? Mars, Rahu, Saturn, they're forming a trine to each other. So we have a grand trine happening here. Moon to Saturn, Saturn to Mars and North Node, Mars and North Node to Moon. There's a grand trine. And then within that grand trine, there is an opposition to Chiron, Venus, and the Sun. And Chiron, Venus, and the Sun are forming sextiles. Now this is a kite. These kites show up when you have a lot of conversations happening at once. You can kind of look at Mars forming a conjunction to the North Node. That's kind of like a duo, a singing duo happening. And then you've got this other duo happening, this other couple of vocalists over here. And when they come together, they're all creating a larger song that's happening. It more becomes a musical or a show at that point. So this larger energy signature known as a kite is very powerful and moves you through. It's effortless. It has a lot of effortless energy behind it, but it causes some tension. It causes you to make choices. Now think about a kite. A kite is something that's pretty much useless unless you trust the wind to do the work for you. So there are other forces at B that are bringing you opportunities. That trine, a grand trine, this is a gift, this is something miraculous that wants to happen. There's just so much positive flow of energy interweaving its way into your life without any effort. This, if you let go of that kite, trust the wind will take it, and you hold on firmly to something. That's what this opposition is calling you to do. It's helping you to sit firmly in something, and there's some kind of choice that needs to be made so that the adjustment can be made. Once that has been made and you've got that process going, you are letting this kite free, and you're letting it do what it's designed to do. And this is going to move you into greater understanding of what you want going forward. And also how better to nourish your relationships after this. Now, Mercury, like I said, is a key player this week. And Mercury, we know Mercury is all about communication, but he's about mental processing, downloading information. He's very active around this full moon, as well as he's about to form a conjunction to Neptune on March 29th. And that's going to, again, give some dreaminess. Mercury's already in Pisces, and Mercury does not do well in Pisces. Mercury wants to analyze and wants to process things clearly and wants results and it's all about data and collection of data. Moving through our day, Mercury is about the day-to-day dealings and how information travels. Well, Neptunian energy does not travel and translate down here on the ground very well. Neptune is a high frequency. It's a transcendent frequency. Neptune rules Pisces. So Pisces is the sign of the dreamer. Mercury in Pisces is very abstract, pulling information in from higher realms. There's a heightened psychic ability that comes with Mercury in Pisces. And when the Mercury conjoins or joins forces with Neptune, that gives a Mercury in Pisces effect regardless. But they are both in the sign Pisces. So we're going to sit in a very heavy amount of lazy and also daisy, dreamy energy. I shouldn't say daisy, not a flower. You're in a daze when Mercury makes a conjunction to Neptune. You're not processing things as clearly as you normally do. You're not taking in information. Your mental processing has delayed the function. The wires are not firing off as easily as they normally do. And I know this because Neptune is squaring my Mercury right now. It's a transit that I am going through. So I'm going to pull this energy in very strongly. It makes you ungrounded. It can cause a lot of spaciness. So this is a time to get out of your head, and it is a time to get into the heart. You're probably going to be pulled in that direction regardless, where you stop caring about the details about things and you start caring about how something feels. Does it feel good or not? Now, Mercury and Neptune together can also create an escapism energy. There might be some things that are, this is all too much to handle. I don't want to do this. Be careful drinking and smoking and overeating, because you're more susceptible to addiction, and you're also more susceptible to being inebriated or high. You get high quicker when Neptune is more active, especially in a hard angle conjunction, square, or opposition. Now, as we move through this week, like I said, Venus and the Sun are moving together. They have locked arms, and they're moving together as one. We are shining a light on the heart and our desires. There are desires that have been unleashed, and now it's time to get realistic about them. Venus decides to start the conversation with Saturn, and she says, I need your support. Saturn says, you have my support. Here it is. Come and get it. I want you to work for this. So Venus says, well, I love to enjoy this. There's got to be something enjoyable about this. So also I might want to take someone with me. Good thing I have the Sun with me, because we're going to have this conversation together. And here's what we need from you. We need some support from you. We have desires. We have things that we're coming to the conclusion of. There are things that we want for ourselves. There are ways we want to see and feel about ourselves that we want to see play out in the long term. So you're going to have some relationship issues come to the surface around this full moon in Libra. And Saturn is also going to say, all right, now let's bring some of these relationships to the chopping block. Which ones aren't working? Which ones are? How do you feel about this? It's just most logical to remove that. Maybe we should keep this. Maybe this is still serving you. There's a lot of that reevaluation that can happen. And Venus is going to say, I need a checkpoint. Let's check in, and I want to get realistic about all of my desires. There's in relationships as well, when Venus and Saturn are together like that, it can create some loneliness, or the way that love is expressed and received is a little bit more business transactional and not quite as romantic. And although at this time we're going to be really focused on our work and accomplishments, because the sun is also in this conversation with Saturn. Now Venus also continues to travel, and when she gets to 14 degrees, she's going to of Aries, she's going to form a sextile to the North Node, or Rahu. So once she's just finishing this conversation with Saturn, she says, okay, the sun, I'm going to leave you two to talk a little bit. Now I'm headed here. I have something I want to talk about with Rahu. She's like, okay, I have reevaluated my relationships. You have now reevaluated your relationships at this point. You have also reevaluated the relationship with yourself. And you're starting to move into a little bit more harmonious frequency with where you're supposed to be going, with your purpose, your path, your mission. And you're wanting to see it. You're wanting to enjoy this process. You're saying, there are people that the North Node is trying to bring you, some new relationships that may come in that have some type of karmic or soul contract energy about them. You may come in contact with people who inspire you during this time, who awaken something in you that is moving you into closer harmony and resonance with your purpose. And then the sun at the last day of the week on Saturday, the sun is also going to form this sextile to the North Node. So there is more focus on all levels, especially consciously, more conscious focus on getting somewhere. You're wanting to accomplish things with Saturn, but you're wanting to feel like you made it with the North Node. And the North Node is an energy of the dragon's head. So with Mars still in a conversation with the North Node, even at the time that it's receiving these sextiles from Venus and the Sun, it's a dragon that wants to eat its own tail. There's so much hunger, so much wanting something, especially because Mars is there intensifying that fire. I want to get somewhere, I want to fulfill this, and it starts to eat itself out of its own starvation. So you want to be careful to conserve some of your energy and know that things are going to come to you as they're supposed to during this time. The North Node is this energy. Like I said, it's hard to pull this energy in and translate it into something physical. It's harder to wrap your head around, and the way it shows up in your life may be a little bit more abstract. And at that time, you're already going to be looking deeper into things anyway. So as Mercury has made its way away from Neptune, has moved away, and is starting to lighten a little bit from all this dreaminess that it's sitting in, this illusion that it's sitting in. It's still in Pisces, so it's still not functioning at optimum speed, but Mercury's moved away, and Mercury's now starting to pull in energy from Pluto. So Mercury's needing a little bit of transformational support from Pluto in a sextile. So Mercury and Pluto come together, and there's something deep that wants to happen here. There's an opportunity to transform something in your life, or something that you're perceiving, or the way you see things is going to change after some very powerful conversations with possibly some powerful people who take you to some deeper places within your psyche and in your mind. You're processing things in ways that are deeper and hold more meaning. And there's something that transforms through that as you now see things in a deeper way. And you need that at this time. We need to go deeper at this time because Mercury is about to move out of Pisces just a day later on April 3rd. When Mercury decides to leap from the heavens down into a physical body and kind of reincarnate himself, the whole energy is going to shift. This Aries energy is going to start to dominate, and we're all going to start to feel that pull and that excitement for spring to be here, for warmer weather, especially here in the northern hemisphere, and for something new to happen, and for there to be kind of like an opportunity for a new beginning, as this is really the new year, technically. This is the beginning of the astrological year. So we're thinking deeply about things, looking really into deep psychological aspects. There are even conversations with that Pluto conversations we might have that go to some darker or more intense places. More taboo subjects may be talked about, and that gets you to see things deeper and it's more meaningful. Now, Mercury in Pisces is all about that being meaningful, all about something higher, something more transcendent about it, something deeper. Mercury is about to take a leap into Aries, and Mercury in Aries is a more childish placement, more blunt, quicker. Mercury likes to move fast, so he does pretty well in Aries. But Mercury's not as good at remembering and collecting data in Aries because he's so ego focused. So we want to be mindful that this energy will balance some things out and give us a lot more mental agility. And there's a lot more mental energy and mental firepower that comes with Mercury in Aries. There's also this not staying on subjects long enough. There's a little bit of ADD, kind of like when Mercury's in his home sign of Gemini. This isn't interesting anymore. It's not about me. That's not a listening placement. We're going to go from very good listening and observing into just being and wanting to express itself. Mercury in Aries wants to express, so we're going to be more expressive at that time, and the way we express is going to be a little bit more primal. It's going to be it's not sugar coated, and it's being given to you more truthfully and more honestly. So with all of these energies at play this week, you have an opportunity to reevaluate all kinds of situations around your relationships, the way you view yourself. Your healing journey is going to be a big factor for you, how you are operating within your healing journey and where you can go next and what needs to be addressed next, because you can feel something sitting under the surface that wants to be expressed. This is also an opportunity for you to make advancements down your path. You're going to feel stronger, more resilient. You may feel very challenged by this moon, but as you move through this week, there's going to be a lot of excitement and a lot of enjoying things. There's going to be pleasure being taken out of doing the right thing and the responsible thing. There's chance encounters and meetings with soulmates. There are so many new ideas that want to come to the surface that you can look deeper within, and you have an opportunity to understand the way your mind works and the psychology of yourself in a more powerful way. Also, there's so much energy that's ready to move into this newness. So this is going to carry you if you allow it to. You want to use these energies, don't let them use you, I always say. So what I recommend is that if you're not already following me on Instagram, you absolutely should, and TikTok at the.astromedium. There you will find my full moon in Libra post. And if you swipe, you'll see the full moon in Libra ritual. And it's very important to do rituals around the moon as you are harnessing that energy and you're taking a frequency and you're channeling it and you're using intention and focus to materialize it or pull it down from the ethers into the physical. You are getting something out of it. There is a magical component to it, but there's also just an intentional law of attraction component to it. So it's important to ritualize your spiritual pursuits. Also, I am the in-house intuitive astrologer for Eclipse over Roswell, and I teach astrology classes every Wednesday night at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time here in Atlanta, Georgia at Eclipse. If you do not live in the Atlanta area, you can join us on Zoom. If you want to pre-register for that class, it's $10. All levels are welcome. You can go to visiteclipse.as.me/astro to pre-register for that. I am also a psychic medium and intuitive astrologer, and I am passionate about helping you navigate your life, your experiences, and your healing process, especially for those of you who are going through the ascension and awakening process and are aware and conscious of that. I am an awakening and ascension facilitator, and I want to help you. And if you'd like to book a reading with me, you can reach out to me or book through my website. That's www.chrystopherwithayMedium.com. Okay, everybody, thank you so much for joining me. I have so much more I want to say about these energies, but this is enough for you to marinate on. I hope you'll join me next week for another weekly cosmic forecast here on Soulfire at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Again, if anyone would like to reach out to me, you can find me through Instagram or my website. I love what I do. I want to help you. Have a great night.